What interested me in the Lost Episodes project, well, it's Dad's Army for a start, and which is a fabulous programme, which I love and everybody loves. But specifically, it was because we were trying to recreate some lost episodes. It was very interesting to me that there were these scripts there which no longer had any matching pictures or a few stills from rehearsals. And so I thought, well, there's a project to try and bring them to life. And it was, quite a daunting thing to take on, because it is in itself a national treasure, and so you're playing a bit high stakes trying to get it out. But I thought it was a very interesting challenge, and I was also very flattered to be asked. So a number of reasons, but the main thing is that we weren't trying to reimagine that dreadful word, and we weren't trying to improve upon something which is unimprovable, really. Because I think that when you're trying to do something that's already been done, it's like trying to repaint a classic picture. Why would you do it? Mona Lisa's been done. Move on. Well, I think it's quite obvious, really, that they're just very well written. They're very solid. Each character is beautifully drawn. The plot lines are easy to follow and extremely amusing. You also have the ingredient of class and status in there, and you're always going to get comedy with that, as you get status rubbing against it and overplaying its allotted place and then underplaying its allotted place. And also there's a great warmth to the scripts, I think, that people really warm to themselves. It's an affectionate show, and it has no cynicism. There is a place for cynicism in comedy, but this is very, very warm, and I think that's why people still like it. But also, you get past a certain time when something that has always been part of the cultural background, you suddenly see for the first time and go, wow, yeah, this has always been here. This is really something, and I think there comes a cut-off point where you stop just taking it for granted, and for the first time you go, this is fantastic, isn't it? This has been around for a long time, and we all love it, and we all still love it. Well, it's like an odd dream, really. I have actually dreamt about being in Dad's Army before, just in a weird, disconnected kind of way, like all dreams are. And actually walking onto that set, which is beautifully done by David the designer, was surreal, because it's an exact replica, and then you look down and you see you've got the gear on, and you go, oh, it's like a dream, because I seem to be in the Home Guard in Wilmington-on-Sea. But of course I'm not. I'm in a television studio in a place in England that can't be told to you all. And so, yeah, surreal is the word for it, but rather wonderful too, because very exciting. And then a bit frightening, of course, because, you've got a hell of a job to do to try and get up to the comedy heights that they've done, which you never can do, of course. You're always going to fall short to a certain extent, because they did it the best they possibly could, and you can't better that. But we've had a go. Just a shock. Just look again. Oh yeah, because again, makeup and costume have been as fastidious as we've tried to be in trying to recreate it. So they've got the right look. They've got exactly the right kind of wigs, and where wigs need be, and the costumes all genuine as to what it was. In fact, I had my Corporal Jones campaign medals, or rather the colours, and I asked our military expert what they stood for, and he was going, well, that's Sudan, and that's the Boer War, and they were all exactly the campaigns that, that Jones had been on. So all of those were exactly right. I was very impressed. Thought it might be just some random squares of colour, but no. So I love that kind of detail. It's good, and so will the Dad's Army people, the experts, the fans. I just studied Jones and Dad's Army, as all the other guys did, actually. I just looked at episodes over and over again, many of which I'd seen dozens of times anyway, but I suppose you're looking for a different kind of thing when you're going to try to recreate it. I'd always been slightly underwhelmed by the character of Jones. I thought he was a bit more kind of music hall, and the others were a little bit more, I don't know, naturalistic, really. But I completely changed my mind, having studied what Clive Dunn had done. And what Dunn had done was very impressive indeed, because there's a real accuracy to his movements, and there's a consistency all the way through. And he actually plays everything completely truthfully. And so I've got the proper respect I should have had for Dunn, and now I find Jones a great character. He might even have started to become my favourite one anew. Fine, yeah, it's very, well, more than fine. Everyone's lovely. I know everyone says this all the time, You're not going to say, God, what a bunch of ignorant... They are very, very nice blokes. A couple I've worked with before. I mean, I've certainly worked with Kevin McNally before. We worked on a Radio 4, is it a similar vein of thing? There are missing Tony Hancock scripts from the radio series from the 50s. And for the last 4 or 5 years, we, with some other actors, have been re-recording those missing episodes. So Kevin and I have, a history of going back and unearthing stuff that has been lost and trying to bring it back to life after a fashion. I'd say to the viewers before they watched it, I'd say boil yourself up a big urn of very strong tea, whip up a powdered egg omelette, and sit down. And if you've got any spam, bung it in and enjoy it, but don't panic. And any other catchphrase that might fit. It's nerve-wracking, It's nerve-wracking to do something like this because you love it so much, and you really, really don't want to do it any disservice. So that's quite nerve-wracking. And then you have the extra nerve-wracking of doing it in front of an audience. And then you had the extra layer of nerve-wracking of knowing that there are die-hard fans in there, and indeed people from the Dad's Army Appreciation Society, some of whom are dressed as the members of Dad's Army. So it's sort of, no pressure or anything. But actually, I've done one recording as of recording this now, and for the first 10 minutes it was blind terror, and then after that I just had a ball. And we all felt the same. I think we just really, really enjoyed it. Kevin and Robert have got a particular onus in all of the episodes, in that a lot of the scenes are those two, and they drive the plot through. So they've got really, really lots of hard work to do, but everyone's got their bit to play.
That's fantastic.
When we say lost episodes, they were recorded in front of an audience in, I think, 1968 or 1969, and then the BBC had a policy, or rather than a policy of wiping their tapes, they had a non-policy of keeping them. So episodes of brilliant stuff would disappear all the time. As a result of that, we've got hardly any episodes of Top of the Pops throughout most of the 60s. We've lost most of the 2 series of Peter Cook and Dudley Moore, which was a comedy masterpiece. It's a crying shame, and plenty more besides. So these went missing, and a lot of it's to do with the fact that videotape was extremely expensive. Going back a few years before this was recorded, I've been to the BBC archive, and the guy there was explaining to me that a an hour's tape in about 1960 cost £1,000 then, for which you could buy a house. So so they were prohibitively expensive. So you can understand why this happened. But some good stuff went. So we still have the scripts of these three. We have an audio recording of A Strike for Frazer, and we have a few stills from the rehearsals of all three of them. And so they are, as far as a complete episode for you to watch, missing. And you can't find them anywhere unless they're hiding away. Somebody, I don't know how, who would have had a video recording in 1968. It's very unlikely, hiding in some attic somewhere. So that's why we've tried to bring it back.